Okay, so in last class, as I've already stated, we have started with the concept of negligence. We have looked into the aspect of as to what do we understand by negligence, what are the essential ingredients for the offense of negligence. Now we need to understand this aspect that there are various tests that both have taken up in order to decide that what will amount to negligence or what will not amount to negligence, because this is something that we have already discussed, that negligence has emerged as a distinct tort, and it was sometime during the middle of 19th century that the concept of negligence has taken up a good number of cases being taken up under the concept of negligence. So when we talk about as to the main essence, that what is the behind the law of tort, is that a person should be subjected to liability for any carelessness or negligence which is being caused by him and leading to any injury or harm to another person, right? So which is also and one of the essential to negligence, and which is being taken up as one of the aspect that is decided by the courts, that the necessity of causal connection between the defendant's breach of duty and that the defendant the damages that are suffered by damages should be there. So that casual connection that we are here talking about is what defines, or you can say what decides the aspect of negligence. And it has been stated in various judgments that these casual connections should be natural, it should be probable, it should be proximate, it should not be very remote. Wherein we can say that the harm that has been caused is not because of the act of the defendant. So there are few things, a few aspects that one need to understand while filing a suit for negligence. And plaintiff has this burden of proving that there was a fairly, or you can say that the plaintiff need to prove that carelessness or negligence or recklessness is there on the part of the defendant. Whatever the defendant did has resulted into injuries and damages to plaintiff. So it is that these are certain tests that are taken up by the court, like for the tests that are taken up, like test of proximity, directness, foreseeability. So when these tests should be applied, and in what under what circumstances they should be applied, which test should be taken up in one in what case, it are certain things that depends upon the facts of each case. So we know that there is this duty of care that exists, and this duty of care is something that a dependent is under law liable to take care, and if not taken care of, then a person can be booked for the offense of negligence. So when we talk about these tests, so first test that we'll be taking up is the test of proximity. That is, if there is any remoteness between the uh, action of the defendant and the injury which is suffered to the plaintiff, then that remoteness will not be taken into consideration. What is it that will court will take into consideration is the proximity, is the causal connection. So when we talk about, when one talk about that, what is proximity? We say that it means the nearest cause, which is responsible for the injury, any type of injury which has been caused to the plaintiff because of the act of the defendant, right? It involves the notion of nearness, closeness, nexus. What is the relationship between the act of the defendant and the injury suffered? So what we say that, in other words, we can say that it means that if a person who has suffered an injury is directly, or rather we can say proximately, suffered the losses because of the act of the defendant, then the one can claim damages for the act of negligence. Then only we can say the defendant will be liable. So any damage arising out of the scope of this proximity, it is outside the scope of this proximity, it is too remote, then it will not be under the ambit of negligence. Why? Because as this duty is not owed to everyone, but only to one who is nearest and directly affected by one's act, right? So we it is, what is it that we are looking here for? We are talking about that nearness, that closeness, that connection that can we can lay down between the two acts. So this is a case, Balgraph versus Long Island Railroad case, where Mrs. Balgraph, who was the plaintiff, and was standing on the Long Island Railroad. That was the defendant in the case, and wherein two men, in order to catch the train, they were running towards the train, and one of them was carrying some packet that was containing fireworks. and as a result of catching the train in the hope of boarding the train, the container, the packet that the person was carrying, it got dropped on the platform, and that led to an explosion. Right, when it got hit with the platform, with the tram, it got there was a major explosion, because of which there were some injuries that were caused to plaintiff. Now, plaintiff brought an action against the Railway Road Corporation, and here in this case, in Palgraph case, where the court has decided in the favor of Palgraph, and the judgment was affirmed on appeal. Now, there were few issues that were taken up in this case by the court in order to decide that what is it, when can we say that a person is liable for the act of negligence, and what do we understand by the duty to take care, and towards whom we will have duty to take care. So issues that were taken up was that how is the duty of care that is owed is to be determined. How will we determine that a person owes a duty? And to whom does a party owe the duty to take care? Now, this question was answered, these questions were answered by the court by laying down the rule of zone of danger. So, as per this zone of danger rule, court has said that whosoever is within that vicinity, within that area where one can get hurt, or one can suffer from damages, we say that the injury has been suffered. So, court in this case has said that when we are talking about a duty that is owed, must be determined from the risk that can reasonably be foreseen under the circumstances. So, one can see that yes, if a person is carrying some crackers, and if there is some kind of collision with another material, then it can lead to explosion. So this is something that can be foreseen. So we have seen this many times, that when we are going through airways, and they specifically provide that what all material is not allowed in hand baggage, and otherwise in the luggage as well. So what is it showing? It is showing that they have this duty to take care, duty to take care, and this duty to take care is with for the people who are surrounded by you, right? This duty exists for everyone and not for an individual. So one can foresee that yes, if a person is carrying some hazardous substance, and that hazardous substance is likely to cause injury or damages to people, then there arises a duty to take care, duty not to allow such hazardous substance to be carried, right? And court said that a defendant owes a duty of care not only to those who are in reasonably foreseeable, who are in the reasonably foreseen zone of danger. So, what is this duty of care will be towards whom? It will be towards those people who are within this zone of danger, right? So, like for example, if we say this zone of danger rule is something that we can apply in Bhopal gas leak case also. So, court said this thing that we can reasonably foresee that if there is a leakage, to what extent the harm can be caused, to what extent, to what the public is affected from a particular act of a person. So court said that when we can foresee, we can reasonably say this thing that yes, these people are within the zone of danger. We can say that yes, the duty of care is towards only those who fall within this zone of danger, not those who are outside the scope of danger. So this scope of danger says, what is the zone of danger? Is saying that all those who are affected because of the act of the defendant. So court says that everyone owes the world at large the duty of refraining from acts that may unreasonably threaten the safety of another. So you are refrained from acting in any way wherein you can cause, there is a threat to life or property or bodily injuries or harms or damages to the other person because of your act. So, in determining proximate cause, the court must ask few questions. What are these questions that need to be answered? Is that whether there was a natural and continuous sequence between the cause and effect, that is, that because of the act of defendant, a particular injury has been caused. So, whether there is a natural and continuous sequence, right, between the cause and effect or not, whether the act would reasonably be expected to injure another. First of all, is there a causal connection? And secondly, can it reasonably be expected to injure the another person because of the act of one person? So these are few questions, and if the answer is yes, it means that a person is liable for the offense of negligence, right? So court must consider that the greater the distance between the cause and the effect, that is with respect to time and space, the greater the likelihood that other cause intervene to affect the result. In this case, there was no remoteness in time and space. It means that the person was within the zone of danger. The time and space, that is the act, the distance, the act of the defendant has reduced that very much, that distance that is required for to exclude a person from zone of danger. So that was less. The time within which is exploded and the person within that vicinity and affected because of the act of the defendant, because of the explosion person got injured, right, in any probable manner, then we can say that a person is within the zone of danger. So it has been said by the court that where when we talk about these aspects, we say that test of proximity is talking about that how immediate has been the injury that has been caused. Right? It says that injured non-remote causes sed proxima spectatio. In law, the immediate, direct, and proximate, and not the remote cause must be considered. So we have to see that how direct the cause is, that act has led to the injuries or harms or damages to the another person. If there is an immediate effect, immediate it is because of the defendant's act that cause that injury has been caused. It is the direct reason for the injuries, for the damages that have been caused to the plaintiff. A person will be held liable. So what is test of proximity? It is talking about that closeness, that nearness that is required to be proven between the conduct and between the injury. So the more they are close to each other, the more the defendant will be held liable for the act of negligence. So the law will permit no damage to be recovered except such as are natural and legal consequences of a wrongful act. Right? Defendant cannot be held liable for any act, for acts that are ad infinitum. It means for infinite acts, a person cannot be held liable. Anything falling outside the scope of a particular act, if a person is now nowhere connected to the injuries, to the damages that are suffered by to the plaintiff, then in that case, defendant will not be held liable. So let me give you another example here, which is a practical example and which is also taken up as a cases by under various cases. Like for example, there are these builders who take up the contract for building apartments for different people. Now, these builders are required by law to take due care to be diligent enough in while making such construction to ensure that whatever material they are using, that is apt, that is of good quality. Now, let's say the builder has not taken these things into consideration, the standards that are laid down by the under the law for the time being in force regulating their conduct, and despite the fact that there are certain guidelines, standards that they're supposed to maintain, they have they have constructed a building with some inferior material, right? As a result, what happens, they started some kind of like sloping of floors, cracking, or some kind of injury which is sustained to the plaintiff because of the act of the defendant, right? So what is this? It is because of the poor foundation that was laid down by the builder. So who will be here entitled to? Will here only these plaintiffs, these people who have contracted with the builder, who are living in that building, who are the immediate consumers, will be the one who will be falling within the zone of danger. Right now, let's say, for example, if the building collapsed one day, and because of the collapse of building, all the people who were having their shops or walking on the road, they got injured. So will you include them? Yes, they will also be within the zone of danger. So let's say because of the fall of the building, there was some like bricks or some material that went off and got damaged the glass of the opposite shop, because of which there were injuries. So this is also which is within the zone of danger, right? So one need to answer this thing, that what all we can held a defendant liable, right? So this is what is being said by the court, that it should not be outside the scope of the particular act for which a defendant is being held liable. in when we are talking about text of proximity. There should be closeness, there should be nearestness. Okay, so if the act and consequences are so connected that they are not too remote but are proximate, the defendant will be held liable. So, in order that the action against the defendant has to succeed, it has to be shown that the defendant wrongfully act was the real cause and not causa sine qua non. Okay, so it has to be direct. It has to be the real cause for the any kind of loss or damage that has been caused. So this is another case, Lampert versus Eastern National Omnibus Company case, where court has said that there is no proximity, there is too remote the losses or damages or injury which has been sustained by the plaintiff, and defendant cannot be held liable. The reason for the injury is not the act of the defendant, but it is because of their strangled relationship. Okay, so this is a case where the court has led that there is no proximity. Another test that court has time and again taken into consideration is the test of foreseeability. Now, keep this in mind that when we are talking about all these tests, proximity, foreseeability, directness, these are certain aspects that certain tests that overlap with each other. Okay, and it is just that the court has taken up the different tests under different situations. So when it has been said, it is said that it should not be too damage is to be it's said to be too remote. When although rising out of the cause of action, it does not immediately and necessarily flow from it, or is such that which could not have reasonably been foreseen. Okay, so according to this test, if a reasonable man could have foreseen the consequences of the wrongful act, right, that are not too remote, then also a person can be held liable. So test of foreseeability is saying what? If I can foresee that yes, my act will lead to this particular damage or injury. As a prudent man, as a man of ordinary intelligence, I can know that yes, a particular loss or injury is going can happen to another person. Then I can be booked for the offense of negligence. So when we talk about this concept of foreseeability, what is it talking about? I- Uh, in, uh, uh, in order to formulate another person or booking the another person for the offense of negligence, it forms a part of proximate cause. It's the cornerstone of this proximate cause. So under this test, the reasonability of an actor means the defendant for the consequence of the wrongful act is determined by the principle of reasonable foreseeability. The test of proximity is talking about that there should be some foreseeability that should be connected in order to say that there is the act and the result are not too remote, but they are very proximate. Okay, so it has been said that this outer boundary of tortoise responsibility, that is outer liability means outer boundary means new remoteness, where we say that the act and the result are too remote, right? It seeks to prevent the defendant from being held liable for any consequences. So what is remoteness doing? If defendant proves that my act is nowhere connected, nowhere proximate, it cannot have been foreseen, it is too remote. So what is it acting as? It is acting as a one of the grounds where the defendant can prevent himself or herself from the liability from of the consequences that are claimed to be out of rising out of his act. Okay, so the idea here is that the responsibility of consequences should be based on the quality of the defendant choice that lead to consequences, whether he can foresee or not, whether there is proximity or not between the two acts and the act and the conduct and the result of that has resulted into damages. So it has been said that test of reasonable foresight, a test of probability, the liability of the defendant is only for those consequences which could have been foreseen. So what is it saying? It is extending this test of liability on the basis of proximity. It says that proximity, but there should also be foreseeability in order to hold a person liable for the offense. If some other unforeseeable consequences are there, person cannot be held liable for these unforeseeable consequences, right? So what is it say? It is saying that they, in order to have this proximity, there should be an extended form of there should be some foreseeability as well, because if there is no foreseeability, we can say that when a person cannot foresee, there is the we can say that it becomes difficult to establish that proximity between the act that has caused injury. Okay, and defendant will be protected from the liability of negligence if the defendant proves that there is remoteness of consequence in the consequences, and it has not taken up in from their negligence. Okay, so another test that court has taken up is the test of directness. So what is directness? Court says a person is liable for direct consequences of his wrongful act which are not due to the operation of independent intervening causes, whether he could have foreseen them or not, right? Because consequences which directly flow a wrongful act are not too remote. So what is court now doing? Now court is saying foreseeability is not important, whether you have foreseen or not, but there is directness because of your act. There is some injuries. So what is it? Court coming back to the test of proximity. There should be closeness. There should be directness. There should be nexus. There should be some relation between your acts, right? Whether you could have foreseen or not, that is immaterial, right? So court says that test of reasonable foreseeability is not something that is more important. So Re-Polymus case is the case wherein court has rejected the test of foreseeability and court has laid down the test of directness. So this is the case where the Polymus owed a ship and Polymus chartered this ship to the defendant. The defendant used this ship as a cargo for gasoline, and some of this gasoline got leaked into the ship hold. While uploading the cargo, what happened? One of the defendant's employee negligently knocked a plank into the hold, and because of which it created a spark that caused an explosion and subsequently fire, destroying the ship. Now, what Polymus did, he sued the defendant for damages. So here, the matter was decided by in favor of Polymus, holding that the defendant are negligent uh, for the damages, for the injuries that have been caused, for the accident that has led to, and even though the explosion that happened was not foreseeable, but there were damages. So the court held what? They awarded damages to the plaintiff, and defendant appeal in the before the bench, but it was decided in the favor of the plaintiff. And this is a proper the main important case for the test of directness, where the court of appeal held that the test of reasonable foresight to be the relevant test, whereas later on Privy Council upheld the test of directness in this case. So court said that even if you cannot foresee, you don't know that your act is going to give rise to certain injuries, still the person will be held liable. So in India, we'll take up this aspect again when we'll be doing absolute and strict liability. Because Indian Supreme Court has laid down that if there is directness, even if there is no intention, there is no foreseeability, but still if there are damages, and damages are to such an extent that they have caused death, or have been again have caused so much of destruction that it has caused damages to life and property all, then we cannot limit ourselves to the test of foreseeability. We have to go beyond this, and we have to see that whether there is any directness between the act of the defendant and the injuries which has been caused. Okay, so defendant were held liable for all the direct consequences of their servant negligence, including destruction of the ship, even though consequences could not have been foreseeably anticipated. Okay, so this is the one case that is there really dealing with the test of directness. Another is King versus Philip, where the test of directness was applied by the court. However, in Doughty versus Turner Manufacturing case, the test of directness was not taken up by the court, and court said that the reasonable foreseeability is what is required under certain situations. Then this is another case, Smith versus London, and this is a case where the railway company was negligent in allowing heap of trimming of hedge and grass near a railway line, and because of which the sparks from the railway engine set fire to that material, right? Due to high wind, the plaintiff cottage caught fire that was 200 yards. So here also court held that there is a direct nexus connection between the act and the injury or damages that have been caused. even if it could not have been foreseen, but still it was held liable. The defendants were held liable in this case. So what is it that we are looking for here? Whether it is remoteness, whether it is directness, whether it is foreseeability, whether it is proximity. Okay, so court has time and again taken up different tests and has decided the matters on the basis of the circumstances of the cases. So, in order to decide whether the defendant can be held liable for all the consequences or not, court has taken up these tests wherever court has felt appropriate, that whether it is a test of directness, whether it is a test of proximity, remoteness, foreseeability, what is it that we need to take into consideration? Because in many cases, as already stated, remoteness acts as a defense for the tortfeasor. So it's a legal principle that serves to limit the potential liability of a tortfeasor in practice. So the issue of remoteness arises on consideration of fundamental portion of legal causation, that as to what extent the injury has been caused. What is the injury that has been caused? So these are certain things that need to be taken into consideration while deciding. And court has taken up these tests as on the basis of the circumstances, on the basis of the cases that has been taken up by the court, right? So another case that is there wherein the court has taken up the test of directness is Overseas Tankship versus Moots Dock Engineer Company Limited case. Now this is the another case where the court has taken up the test of directness, and this is a case where the wagon mount, which is the here the furnace oil spilled into the water at a wharf as a result of the negligence of the defendant. The oil spread into a thin film on the surface of the water. The oil film drifted to a nearby wharf where welding work was going on, right? So what happened? Obviously, damages, the welding work was going on, it got fire, it got ignited, and it got damaged. So court held, this is also one of the very important case wherein the test of directness was upheld by the court, and court has taken up that we need to see that why a particular loss or injury has been caused. Whether one can foresee or not is a secondary question. First is the proximity that we need to look into. Okay. So what is it that we are talking about? We are saying that it is to strike a balance between imposing appropriate liability, but not doing so in a fashion that unduly impedes activity in society. So you have to maintain a balance. You need to see whether the act of the defendant has actually led to the damages or injury to the plaintiff. To what extent the damages or injuries have been caused? Is there any directness? Is there any proximity between the act? Whether it can whether the situation is such that can have been foreseeable, because in many cases foreseeability is also one of the aspects that is taken up by the court, right? So this balance is finds by the fact that it is only the form of damage suffered that must be foreseeable, not the degree of harm actually sustained. So what damage has been caused, right? Degree of harm actually sustained is secondary, but आपको damage हुआ, there is a damage, so there is a liability, right? Then court will see the damage, to what extent damage has been caused. So this ensures that the defendant will be liable if a certain foreseeable type of damage is sustained, even if the actual extent of that damage is not objectively foreseeable. Right. So what is the court looking into? Court see that this foreseeability is something which is not a perfect test. We need to go beyond it. We need to see that whether there is proximity, whether there is any directness between the act of a person or not. Okay. So with general applicable test in law, it is the application and interpretation of the test in specific instances. That is the most important thing that we need to take into consideration, not the bare principle inherent in the test itself. So it depends upon the facts of each case, as I've already stated, that which test will be applicable, to what extent a test will be applicable, is something that will depend. We cannot be acted on blindly or mechanically. We cannot apply it. It depends upon the case to case basis, on situations, in order to hold a person liable for the act of negligence. We have to take into consideration all the facts or the circumstances that have surrounded that particular act. Okay, so this was about the different tests that have been taken up by the court in different situations. But yes, we say that these tests are not something that are taken up individually by the case or court, or only one test will be taken into consideration by the court. court will see that if there is, whether there is they can overlap and more than one test can be applied by the court in a given situation. So next class we'll be taking up, we'll continue with the negligence and we'll see what are the remedies that are available to the defendant or you can say exceptions to the act of negligence in the next class.